Ezri meim Adonai, Ose shamayim va'aretz, Eslainai, El harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri, Eslainai, El harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri meim Adonai, Ose shamayim va'aretz. Ezri meim Adonai, Ose shamayim va'aretz. The psalmist in those words wrote long ago, I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. Ose shalom b'mromai, uyase shalom aleinu, le'al kol Yisrael, le'imru imru amen. Yase shalom, yase shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. A poet once wrote, what is the measure of a man? His measure is the kind words people say when he isn't there, and the memories he creates that stay indelible in the minds of all who knew him. What is the measure of a man? It is the amount of love he leaves in people's hearts, and the laughter he leaves upon people's lips. It is the length of time he's remembered, his good deeds and his kind words, measured in the length of years. Stories of his best moments and loving kindness get told by family and loved ones alike. We try to live the best lives we know how. We do our best to bring more laughter, more kindness, more love into the world, and to care for the people who are important to our lives. David Lisberg lived an incredible 84 years. Family was everything to him. Son of Irving and Esther, both of blessed memory, beloved husband of Kathy for what would have been 57 years this August, brother of his late twin sister Diane and his late brother Bert, both of blessed memory, father of Amy and her husband Tony, and Bob and his wife Jocelyn, cherished grandfather of Jack, Jordan, Lucy, and Jalen. May David's memory always be a blessing as we celebrate who he was and all he added to your lives. A poet wrote, if you are reading this, then I must be gone. Remember me true, my good days and bad, although I hope our memories hold more smiles than pain. Remember the days filled with laughter, that your tears may hold some sweetness and less sorrow. I never claimed perfection, although I'm still convinced I was right a lot. But please forgive me those moments when I couldn't admit I was wrong. Life is built day upon day where memories accumulate like fallen leaves in autumn. We keep only the most special and colorful ones, while the rest are swept away and forgotten. I'm so blessed for all my days you filled with so much color. If this is being read, and I'm off elsewhere never to return, remember my love for you more than anything else, because in the end that is the best gift that I can leave you. The birds made popular these ancient words of Ecclesiastes when they sang that there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, A time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak. And now is the time we speak of David's incredible life, as I invite his wife Kathy to speak of her husband.
Thank you all for being here. Spoiler alert, David Lisberg was the love of my life. Yep, he was my guy. I oftentimes told him that my life truly began when we met and started our life together. And what a life it was. Children will speak to his role as a father, but as his wife, I can affirm that he was kind and gentle. David was rarely angry, and he had a beautiful smile. He I always have directors, you know. And he had a beautiful smile. He was the only person I knew that could sit in traffic for hours and walk into the house singing. He never missed an opportunity to show his love, respect, and devotion to me, his children, and his grandchildren. He was always sensitive to those in need and more than ready to offer a helping hand. We enjoyed all the same things, be it travel or theater, concerts, or just hanging out with the kids. We had such fun with our friends, but really treasured our time alone. David loved the constant parade of our children's friends in and out of our home. He thought name tags would have been a really good idea because there were too many to remember. Our house was open to all, and he always made family and friends feel welcome. He was fun and funny. He refused to take anything too seriously, and he lived by the motto, anything not health-related is just not important. Our marriage was old school and quite traditional. He worked very hard, and I spent the money. However, when I wanted to start a business of my own, he made it happen. He was supportive and my best cheerleader. In his mind, I could do no wrong. He thought everything I did was perfect. We were true partners throughout our life and were usually in sync, especially when it came to our family. We simply believed that our kids and our grandkids hung the moon and were incredible dividends of our life. We enjoyed the good times and managed our life's challenges with an orchestrated precision. There were situations that required him to reinvent himself in the business world, and he did so without complaint. David was generous with his time, serving in many professional leadership positions. He was president of our synagogue in Aurora and our condo board in Chicago. He had an amazing temperament that caused others to marvel. He was rarely fazed by any controversy. David supported the Temple fundraisers, subsidized any event that needed to be subsidized, and got rave reviews when he played Tevye and Fiddler on the Roof. One cannot speak of David Lisberg without mentioning his passion for, or more accurately, his obsession with, the game of golf. As a young man, it was his source of frustration, and as an older man, it became his salvation. He also loved music. He had a beautiful voice and could sit at the piano for hours. David's diagnosis of Parkinson's at age 60 was devastating, but early on he made the decision that this disease would not define him. He flippantly referred to it as the condition and proceeded to live his life. He did all the right things and was shepherded through many difficulties by his devoted neurologist, Mike Rezac. He never said, "Why me?" or initiated a pity party. As if that diagnosis wasn't enough, the man that believed good health was all that mattered was plagued by one health challenge after another. He faced each head on and thankfully won those battles. As the years passed and his condition progressed, I have watched this horrid disease rob him of so much. First, it was the beautiful smile that we all loved. Then his mobility, his speech, his dignity, and finally his life. Through it all, he remained the same kind and loving man, always grateful for family and friends. He was never bitter, he never lost his sense of humor, and he played the hand that he was dealt. The medical staff that cared for him last week in the ICU actually cried when he passed away. Though he was sedated, and he would briefly open his eyes, they could see and feel the essence of our special man and see what he meant to us. My heart is breaking, and I can't even imagine life without him. But I intend to take a page from his playbook. I will always be so grateful for 57 years of unconditional love. Bobby, Amy, JoJo, Tony, Jordan, Jack, Jalen, and Lucy, your constant outpouring of love and devotion gave his life meaning and kept him wrapped in a cocoon of comfort. I am also beyond grateful to the rest of you that showered him with affection and gave him an incredible quality of life. You all know who you are, and your acts of kindness will never be forgotten. It has been said that we will all live on in the memories of those who loved us, and I believe that his memory will be cherished by all.
Invite Amy back up to speak about her dad.
I have truly been at a loss for words since last Thursday. While I knew the inevitable was happening, I found myself in a state between this is for the absolute best and please can he just wake up so I can have one more day. As I see all our family and friends who have gathered here today and those who I know are joining us virtually, my dad is smiling from above. He would have been 81 next week, and I know he's thinking they finally are giving me that party I wanted. Last year for his 80th, he wanted a big celebration to mark the milestone. He loved to dance with my mom and wanted a party with dancing and music to celebrate. However, he acquiesced to a small but meaningful gathering with family as his current condition didn't allow for much more. While he still talked about that night and how special it was, he would have really liked the celebration of his life. There is no one more fitting for a steakhouse shiva than my dad. We presented my dad with a book at his 80th of pictures and messages from all the people whom he loved and from those who truly loved him. The messages were all similar in theme. My dad was generous and loving, kind and funny, diligent, hardworking, brave, and courageous. The example he set for how to be a loving husband, father, and grandfather were unmatched. The messages were from both his oldest childhood friends from Lawndale Ave, but also from newer friends from the life they'd more recently made in Florida, and everyone in between. I was in awe about the impact my dad seemed to have on everyone he came in contact with, regardless of in what stage of life they met him. When I try to recount the memories or moments I wanted to share today about my dad, it's not just one thing that stands out. It's the compilation of all the little things in his life that made him special. It was his love of music that started at a young age. It led him to be the drum major in his high school band and resulted in many a night in our Aurora house where he would sit at the piano and sing the songs from West Side Story and Sound of Music. And the car rides I had with him, where he would try to harmonize with me, his tone-deaf daughter, really tone-deaf, as we sang holiday music together. And the many trips into the city to see musical theater. My dad loved the theater. And it was the video we just watched of him last night, singing in perfect pitch the song my mom wrote for him for his 80th to the melody of Frank Sinatra's My Way. It was his love of days spent working at the family news agencies in Aurora and Naperville. My mom would recount how my dad never complained in their early days together about the 4 a.m. wake up to begin the day as a newspaper man. As kids, we would run through the warehouse and spend time in the comic book room, which to us was like opening a door to great treasures. But our time spent at the news agency allowed us to see firsthand his relationship with those who worked for him. They were treated like family, and although my dad was at the helm of the operation, He valued the roles each one of his employees had, as he knew they were all integral to the overall success of the business. I remember the summer I worked at one of his Hallmark stores. My dad made sorting greeting cards into a sport, one that was neither fun nor entertaining to me. But he showed me that summer the value of doing the little things well, is with that would come success, or in his mind, a good sales day. It was the pride he took in his appearance, not because he was vain, but because he really lived by the motto, if you look good, you'll feel good. My dad was dapper, a Madras button-down, a corresponding sweater and penny loafers was his go-to. But he did love to wear a suit and would comment frequently on the lost art of dressing up for a night out to temple, dinner, or the theater. As he embraced retired life, he frequently was spotted in more casual attire, t-shirts representing the Big Ten colleges, where mine and Bob's kids attended. And let's not forget his scent. Old Spice was his fragrance of choice. Spicy and fresh, one might say. Even with the difficulty he had in these latter years with his fingers and hands, his dressing routine would always end with a splash of Old Spice aftershave on his hands and some quick taps to his face. It was his innate leadership abilities and love for community that made him special. My memory of him being on the bima with me at my bat mitzvah as not only my dad, but as temple president. As my grandfather was one of the temple founders, I remember feeling a great sense of pride at the position my dad had and thinking how lucky my parents were to have the wonderful temple community that was an integral part of their life in Aurora. My dad was always giving back to the community, not just financially, but with his time and commitment as a leader to ensure the Jewish community in Aurora was a vibrant one. And we can't forget about my dad's smile, the smile that beamed whenever my mom came into the room, and the smile that welcomed all our friends into our home growing up. He loved kibitzing with our friends and being part of the daily gossip. That smile I saw on his face as I spotted him at the gate on my first overnight camp visiting day. By the way, he was wearing a Madras shirt that day, albeit short-sleeved, because after all, it was summer. He really was. And the smile that beamed when he became a papa to Jordan and Jack. And the smile that appeared every visit he made to Boston to spend time with them. And the smile that came when he told a really good joke. My dad loved a good joke. And that smile that began to fade over the past few years as a result of his condition, but that still appeared slightly when he took the pile in a canasta game and called gin against me when we played cards. And I would be remiss not to include his love of golf as one of the little things in his life that made him special. Obviously, this passion wasn't so unique. He's one of 66 million people in the world who play. But it is what the game gave my dad that was special. Like with all golfers, early on it was a pastime, a sport to engage in with his friends and Bob, a pursuit of a low-scoring round and the perfect swing, and then it morphed into a couple's activity for my mom and him to do together as they began their life as empty nesters and retirees. But in these latter years, golf gave my dad a purpose. As his condition progressed, he never gave up the quest for the perfect shot. His courage and tenacity to continue to swing the club, even when his body was failing him, was admired by all. I was a little late to the party with my love of the game, but I know he will be smiling from above as I continue my pursuit of long drives and perfect putts. And finally, the most special thing about my dad that will come as no surprise to any of you is his unconditional love for our family. The love began with my mom, a true fairy tale romance, and 60 years in, their love never wavered. And that love trickled down to Bob and I. His guidance, advice, unwavering support in everything we did was evident every single day. My dad was the epitome of a family man. We were his everything, and as long as we all had our health and each other, nothing else mattered. The epitome of a family man continued with a warm embrace of Tony and JoJo as he accepted them as members of our family immediately, without hesitation or reservation. Admittedly, that was after a rather uncomfortable interaction between Dad and Tony in a men's room on our first family date. But that's a story for another time. And then came the grandkids, Jack, Jordan, Jalen, born within weeks of each other, with Lucy to follow a few years later. Our family was complete as my dad treasured every minute he spent with our kids. My dad lived his life with purpose. He taught us how to love and be loved. He taught us the importance of hard work, the importance of community, and the importance of having a really good sense of humor. It's ironic that the one constant phrase I heard throughout my entire life was, as long as you have your health, nothing else matters. Well, my dad, as with most of his bits of wisdom, was right about that too. But he lived his life to the fullest. And his legacy will continue to live on in us and his grandchildren, whom will fondly always remember him as the man they called Papa.
call up David's grandchildren to speak.
Oh, there we go. It's a little tight back here. I'm Jack, the grandson. There's a common theme for all these speeches. We all wrote them separately, but kind of all saying the same thing. Papa loved to golf, and of course that's what I'm going to talk about for the next few minutes. Everybody knew his love for the game, and whenever he got the chance, he was trying to teach you how to swing the club. But I think only a few understood how much golf translated to his... Oh.
The mic.
I'm just going to hold this. But I think only a few understood how much golf translated to his life, and so I'll start off with a quote from Bobby Jones, who was one of the co-founders of the Masters. Golf is the closest game to the game we call life. You get bad breaks from good shots, you get good breaks from bad shots, but you have to play the ball where it lies. Papa made the best of the situations, both when presented with great opportunities as well as incredible challenges. He was persistently optimistic about what the next day might bring. Some days were tough, some days were easy. Some days he was peering 8 irons, and some days he was literally falling down. And if there's one thing I can take away from Papa, it's that you need to embrace the good shots, the bad shots, and you need to be enthusiastic about every shot you take, because there's no point in dwelling over that sculled 8 iron that you shanked into the water yesterday. He approached each day the same, even when the days got a little bit harder. But as many bad days or bad shots there were, he woke up with the courage to try and make that day one of the good ones. Over the last few years, I came to appreciate the challenge he had when trying to communicate. Some of you may not know this, but I struggled and still struggle with a stutter. And watching Papa made me understand the courage it took to stand in front of a room full of people and tell a joke, like he did during his 80th birthday. I swear he was saving his voice for the past 3 years just for that moment, and he crushed it. His bravery and enthusiasm will be what I carry with me through life, and like I said last year at his birthday, as I embark on my career and my life, what has and will continue to guide me is to be the type of man, father, husband, and grandfather that he has always been.
I'm Jalen. It's still hard for me to believe that this is happening. I know I speak for everyone here when I say that we're heartbroken to be standing here today. For those of you who don't know, I had the privilege of living with my Grammy and Papa for a couple of summers. During that time together, I made some of the best memories with my Papa. He's one of the most unintentionally funny people I know. One thing we always did was go to the Diversity driving range on Fridays for lunch and a practice session. When we would finish our bucket of balls, Papa would either try to walk out onto the range to retrieve more, or would try to steal balls from the teaching stations near us when the instructor stepped away. He was always so stubborn, but it was only because he was so fiercely passionate and committed to everything he did. I have and always will admire his sense of eagerness and dedication to not just golf, but to life as well. On another occasion, Papa wanted to go for a walk while Grammy was out running errands. I figured a stroll around Lincoln Park would be perfect, but little did I know he had bigger plans. I let him lead the way and began to realize that we were not just taking a lap around the park, but that we were headed for the zoo, almost a full mile north. We took breaks periodically. Each time I asked if he was sure he wanted to continue, and each time he said yes. We finally made it to Lincoln Park Zoo, and I was so proud of him, and I could tell he was so proud of himself too. Him and I had so much fun walking around the exhibits, talking, snacking on popcorn, etc. When it was time to head home, he insisted on walking all the way back, which he accomplished with a breeze. As we walked through the door of the apartment, he thanked me for taking him on the walk, to which I replied there was no thanks necessary. I was always so happy to hang out with my Papa. I know a walk to the zoo sounds like a simple story, but it was such a beautiful one-on-one day with my Papa that I'll never forget. That day was the biggest testament to who he was as a person and as a grandfather. Papa never needed the most action-packed itinerary or elaborate activities to make him happy. He just loved being with us and spending quality time with his grandchildren. And we always felt the same way. I can't even begin to describe how lucky I feel that he was my Papa. He taught me so many valuable lessons that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. He taught me how to handle annoying people, how to advocate for myself, how to put things in perspective, and how to persevere through hard times, and so many more.
I will miss hearing his laugh, hearing him sing. I will miss playing gin and blackjack with him. I'll miss watching America's Got Talent together. I'll miss our gossip sessions. And ultimately, I will miss him so much. However, I find comfort in knowing that Papa is no longer in pain. While he may not be with us physically, I believe that he will always be here with us spiritually, because I know he would absolutely hate to miss out on our lives. I feel him with us today, and I know I will feel his presence in all of our days ahead. Papa, I love you so much, and I can't wait to see you again one day.
I'm Lucy, I'm the youngest. I've been pushing off writing this for so long because this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. For reference, this was written at midnight last night. Papa is and always will be my pal, as we would always say. He was constantly entertaining me with both his stubborn, impulsive actions as well as his advice and stories about life. My favorite thing about Papa is the way he looked at life and never took it too seriously. He was often a rule breaker, which as the youngest grandchild, I think resonated with me the most. For example, the time all the spots at the range were taken, so he took me to hit balls out of the chipping area. Papa, are you sure we can hit out of here? I think those people are trying to tell us to move, I asked. To which he replied, ignore them. And he got away with it. I always let him get away with things because I knew his reasoning behind it was just the fact that he refused to miss out on a moment with his grandchildren, or just life in general. He refused to let his age or disease define him and get in the way of making memories up until his final moments. This is another story from the range, I'm just realizing. For example, another time we went to the range, and despite my dad's request for Papa to just sit and watch, we proceed to find Papa falling up the hill towards the tees with 6 different clubs and his cane in hand. I've never seen him walk so fast. One of my favorite quotes from Papa in that moment, as he proclaimed, "It's fine, I fall here all the time." You remember that, Dad? He was one to always embrace the risk, as it meant he got to hit some balls with his granddaughter. He made the most out of every moment, which inspires me every day. My favorite part about Papa was how he shaped my perspective of love. Whenever it was just us two, he would always tell me stories about Grammy and how they met, and how he knew she was the one, and how he would drive from Aurora to Chicago to Glencoe back to Aurora every day like it was nothing. He was very disappointed when he found out I drove to my boyfriend's house. I loved the stories he would tell me and the speeches he would give, because it made me believe in the type of romance he would see in the movies, and he made sure I would never settle for anything less. Papa always wrote the best speeches and never failed to make me bawl like a baby within the first 3 seconds. So Papa, I hope I got some tears out of you up there. I'm glad you're finally out of pain, and I hope they're giving you the deluxe treatment up there, including live Frank Sinatra, spaghetti and meatballs, unlimited dilly bars, and obviously golf. Every little thing will always remind me of you. I know you will always keep an eye on us, and I'm glad that now I'll always have someone to talk to and keep me company. I love you so much, pal. I'll carry your memories with me forever until the day that I can see you again. Thank you. I'm Jordan, the oldest. Still the oldest. I was so fortunate to spend Passover with Grammy and Papa a few weeks ago. A holiday centered around gratitude, community, and the will to persevere against all odds. Some of my favorite memories of Papa are celebrating Jewish holidays with him and Grammy, sat around their dining room table with the people we love, sharing stories, singing, playing cards, and just being together. And in my mind, this represents the essence of Judaism, community, and that was Papa. Papa brought and still brings people together. I'm so grateful for Papa. Grateful to have seen his love and respect for Grammy. Grateful to have learned his values by hearing stories about his childhood. Grateful to have sang his favorite songs with him. I can't see. And so much more. I am grateful to be Jewish and to have learned how to create community from Papa. His welcoming and acceptance of others are traits I strive to exemplify. How he treated someone was how he treated everyone, with kindness and compassion. I have heard stories of how he treated his former employees like family, I have seen firsthand how he treated neighbors, waiters, and strangers in the elevator like family, and I am the result of how he treated his own. He welcomed my dad, like my mom said, after an awkward and silent encounter in the bathroom, and Aunt JoJo after eating directly off her plate, my family. His kindness towards everyone was tangible, and by infusing kindness into everything he did, he acted without fear, without hesitation, but with love. He fought through what scared him and through what scared us all, with a smile on his face. I know we can all agree his perseverance against all odds was nothing short of extraordinary. He fought to golf, though his body, mind, and many of us told him no. He fought to get the mail, to sing, and to dance, and a day didn't pass where he gave up his fight. And now it is our job to continue his fight. We will build community, spread kindness, and accept others with Papa in our hearts. In all of us, I see Papa. I see his gift of gab in Jack. I see sassiness, stubbornness, and spirit in Lucy. I see his genuine care for others in Jay. And in myself, like my mom, his perfect pitch. Just kidding. But for real, I try every day to embody his kindness and empathy. Now, like I said, as the oldest grandchild, I think those 3 minutes give me the right to define success. Success is when those who know you the best love you the most. Papa, you are the definition of success, and we all love you the most.
I'm the son. I'm really the oldest. Let them settle here. I think it would be appropriate to start with a joke because my dad always did love one. A man walks into the doctor with a suspicious-looking mole. The doctor says, "They all look like that. Put it back in the garden." I would first like to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of those of you who have taken time out of your busy lives to be here with my family. The outpouring over the last week of text, calls, messages, and visits has been humbling and truly a comfort to our entire family. From every member of the Lisberg and Briney family, we say thank you for your support. We truly treasure your friendship. It is through friendships and relationships that I can best describe my dad. Over the course of 80 years, he has had so many of them, and most of them, if not all, have lasted for years, if not decades. For those of you who do not know, and that's probably a few of you, my dad grew up in Aurora, Illinois. He was one of a ragtag group of 6 precocious friends known for all time as the Lawndale Gang. We should all be lucky enough to have friends this dear in our lives, literally lifelong friends of my dad. Additionally, we welcome the dearest of friends from California, family from Texas and New York, friends from Boston, and of course our Chicago family. As my dad progressed through his youth, he attended West Aurora High School, where he was a member of the golf team, as well as drum major for the marching Blackhawks. Strangely enough, later in life, my dad was able to fuse skills from each of these activities and became amazingly proficient at hitting range balls in perfect 4-4 time at a pace of approximately 80 beats per minute. In all seriousness, no, golf and music were 2 of his passions, and I will always treasure the time he and I spent together golfing, and I know my love of music derived from his. He continued on with his academic pursuits at the University of Denver, where he studied business administration. As with any student enjoying his time in Colorado, he became a fairly decent skier. However, the day finally came at university where he truly found himself out over his skis, and that was the day he met my mom. This was the beginning of a courtship and romance that would last for nearly 60 years. His love for my mom was unyielding and unconditional. While my parents may have had an occasional spat, I can't recall anything more vividly than their love for each other and their marriage was truly a storybook romance. As a father, my dad was there for everything, supportive in all mine and Amy's endeavors, while at the same time able to help look at things from all angles and offer advice without it ever being a directive. He had a work ethic that was like no other, and to this day the sun rises and sets in the Lisberg home with the motto of work before play. As a high school student, I spent my summers working in his warehouse, working the pre-dawn shifts, stuffing Sunday newspapers for delivery. I remember how beloved he was by his team, and that being a result of his empowering them, his ability to delegate responsibility to them without micromanaging. He never had anyone do a job that he had not already done himself at some point. His love and appreciation for everyone that put in a hard day's work for him, and how that my dad's staff all seemed more like an extended family than employees. His leadership skills transcended the business arena, whether it was his years of service on the board in our temple in Aurora, or nearly as many years of service for the Homeowners Association in Chicago. My dad never shied away from doing his part and was always willing to lend a hand in support of something about which he cared. Surprisingly enough, as amazing as my dad was as a husband and a father, his true highlight in Act 3 was that of a proud papa. Once again, from softball to soccer to football and lacrosse, Papa was a fixture on the scene for all of his grandchildren, and that was no small task, as each of those kids truly excelled both in academics and athletics, giving him plenty of occasion to beam with pride. Jack, Jordan, Jalen, he loved you all so very much. And Lucy, we know he loved you the most. All wonderful things to remember my dad by, but I would be remiss if I did not mention that one of the things I admired most about my father was how he handled adversity. When diagnosed with Parkinson's, my dad took the bull by the horns and never made any excuses. There was never a day he felt sorry for himself, despite what I know were the most frustrating circumstances. He was optimistic and cheerful to the very end, and I might add that he and I enjoyed a few holes together the week before last. He never let the disease win. I will always remember knowing how much my dad believed in me, even at a time when I did not believe in myself. His constant encouragement and support, making sure I didn't sell myself short, will always resonate. It may have taken some time to completely sink in, but now it's a part of me. I will never be able to thank him enough for the lessons I've learned from him. From childhood friends to his wife Kathy, to my sister Amy and me, to our extended family and friends, and to his grandchildren, my dad has left an indelible mark on so many of our lives. While this past week has been a time of great sadness for our family, it has been a time for us to come together, to circle the wagons and hold each other close as we celebrate his life of accomplishment and loving relationship. And in the words of a favorite consoler of mine, I look forward to the time when the mention of his name brings a smile to my face rather than a tear to my eye. I love you, Dad. I will always miss you.
I feel most blessed to be here, especially since not knowing each other 10 years ago, I actually served for a wonderful time in Aurora as the rabbi that your father served so diligently and so beautifully, and Aurora being important to all of our lives. In living, we all try to make the world a better place. We try to raise children that better the world in hopes they bring more children into the world. David succeeded. You are all his legacy. He loved sharing his life with every one of you. May you always remember the best of David in his strength and health. May his memory always be a blessing, as he was such a blessing in your lives. A poet wrote, "Fight my fight. Dry your tears and pick up the mantle I've left you. Fight my fight for those in need and for those who never had a me to share their lives. Fight my fight by caring for the stranger, the sick, the silent, the victim, the child, the one who has no one else to come to their side and defend them from the world. Fight my fight because it is the right thing to do. Take my love for you and share it with the rest of the world in hopes of filling it up with a love so big that you find every person standing by your side as a defender of all that is good. May you all fill the world with the light I've always tried to share with every person I've known or loved. My hand may not be in yours, but know that my spirit lives in your heart, and my light can never be extinguished as long as memories of me give you the strength you need to fight my fight. We turn into our pamphlets and we read together this 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You make me lie down in green pastures. You lead me beside the still waters. You restore my soul. You guide me in straight paths for your name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We rise in body and spirit as we prepare to say the El Malei Rachamim, our memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Torim, Kezahara Kemazirim, Et Nishmat Hershel David Ben Yitzchak Ve'Esther, Shalach Lolamo, Baal Rachamim Yasterehu, V'Seiti Kanafav Lolamim, Yitzur HaChayim Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachlato, V'Yanuach B'Shalom, Al Mishkavo V'Namar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to David Lisberg, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. We continue in the pamphlets with the recitation of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach erotei v'yamlich malchotei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedechol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala v'zman kariv yimaru, Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudshah b'richu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'miran v'yoma v'yimaru, Amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yimaru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimaru, Amen. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort to all the bereaved as we say together, Amen. You may be seated. We continue by praying silently as the casket and vault are lowered. When it comes time to place earth into the grave of a loved one, it's become tradition to place 3 scoopfuls of earth or sand into the grave, 3 showing intention. 1 could be by accident, 2 could be coincidence, but 3 shows the real intention. We come to this mitzvah that can never be repaid. And then you may just place the shovel back on the earth so each person may come to the mitzvah of their own free will. We pray silently. Betishon ve'ha'ira, ve'imrochi geviati, Adonai li ve'lo ira, ve'imrochi geviati, Adonai li ve'lo ira. My soul I give to you, my spirit in your care. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Hold me in your hand. Draw me near, I shall not fear. Hold me in your hand. Biado apkidruki. Betishon ve'ha'ira, ve'imruchi geviati, Adonai li ve'lo ira, ve'imruchi geviati, Adonai li ve'lo ira. Olam chesed yibameh.
Ya la la, ya la, ya la la la. Olam chesed yivane. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la. Olam chesed yivane. Ya la la, ya la, ya la la la. Olam chesed yibane. Ya la la, ya la, ya la la la. Olam chesed yibane. Ya la la, ya la, ya la la la. Olam chesed yibane. Ya la la, ya la, ya la la la. Olam chesed yibane. Ya la la, ya la, ya la la la. Olam chesed yibane. Ya la la, ya la, ya la la la. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
The family has invited everyone to Gibson's at 1028 North Wash Street in Chicago for a meal there following the services here today. Thank you. a shovel on the other side of the mound if anyone would like to shovel. From that side, 2 people can go at the same time.